Twilight enveloped the dense forest, shrouding it in a mysterious veil. Through the gnarled branches of the trees, the last rays of the sun pierced, creating shimmering patches on the ground. It was here, amidst this wild beauty, that a meeting took place, forever altering the lives of two individuals. Alice, a young beauty with hair the color of ripe wheat and eyes resembling a woodland lake, wandered deep into the heart of the forest, seeking inspiration for her paintings. Her soul yearned for something extraordinary, something to pull her out of the ordinary. She walked along a narrow path, treading on a soft carpet of fallen leaves. Her thoughts were far away, immersed in the world of fantasies. Suddenly, stepping on a fragile twig, she felt it snap beneath her weight. The world spun around her, and Alice, losing her balance, plummeted downwards, towards an inevitable fall. However, to her fortune, beneath her lay not rocky ground but strong masculine arms. "Oh well, well," she exclaimed indignantly, completely forgetting her composure. She pushed away abruptly from his body, but couldn't quite regain her footing. The man's hands, as before, held her lower body. "Let go! How dare you?" Alice exclaimed angrily. "Me," the stranger said, surprised, smiling. "You fell right onto me. Why were you standing there anyway? Don't you have enough space?" the girl grumbled. "It was interesting to watch the view from below," he replied with a mischievous grin. "And I didn't expect you to risk a jump," he added, attempting to stand up. Finally, Alice could see her rescuer. He was tall and lean, with dark hair cascading casually onto his forehead and piercing green eyes that sparkled in the twilight. His face, shrouded in mystery, conveyed both strength and kindness. "Thank you," Alice said, slightly flustered. "You saved my life." "No need to thank me," the stranger replied modestly. "My name is Arthur." "And I'm Alice," the girl said somewhat shyly. At that moment, an invisible thread of connection seemed to form between them, a silent agreement that this meeting was not coincidental. Their eyes met, and there was something more than just gratitude flickering in them. "Allow me to help you up," Arthur said, extending his hand. Alice gladly accepted his assistance, feeling his touch sending a pleasant shiver down her spine. "Do you live nearby?" Arthur asked as they set off on their way. "No, I came here from a village a few kilometers away from the forest," Alice replied. "I can escort you," Arthur offered. Alice agreed eagerly. She wanted to stay by this mysterious and attractive stranger as long as possible. They walked in silence, savoring the beauty of the forest and their conversation with each other. Alice shared her dreams and aspirations, while Arthur listened attentively, occasionally casting admiring glances at her. The forest grew deeper, the sun nearly completely hidden behind the horizon, and the shadows of the trees lengthened, taking on whimsical shapes. Alice felt a slight nervousness creeping in as the twilight descended rapidly. "Actually, I've gotten a little lost," she confessed, breaking the silence. Arthur stopped and looked at her seriously. "No need to worry," he reassured her. "I know these places like the back of my hand. We'll soon be on a familiar path that will lead us to the village." His voice sounded firm and confident, and Alice felt relieved. She had indeed been worried about having to wander through this dark thicket all night. Suddenly they heard the rustling of branches to their left. Instinctively, Alice grabbed Arthur's hand. "What's that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Arthur put a finger to his lips, instructing her to be silent. He listened for a few seconds, then slowly pulled Alice towards the thick bushes. "Stay here and don't move," he whispered quietly. Alice, not daring to disobey his command, hid behind the bushes, her heart pounding like a bird in a cage. She watched as Arthur disappeared among the trees, his figure quickly swallowed by the darkness. Minutes passed, which seemed like an eternity to Alice. She stared intently into the darkness, expecting any movement. Suddenly, the rustling of branches sounded again, this time closer. A figure emerged from behind the trees. It was an old woman, her face wrinkled like an old map and her eyes gleaming with a cunning spark. She wore a long green dress, reminiscent of the color of the forest, and leaned on a staff carved from a branch of the same oak that stood in the clearing. "And who do we have hiding here?" her voice cackled, sounding like the rustle of dry leaves. Alice bit her lip, her body instinctively shrinking. She wanted to burst out of hiding and ask for Arthur's help, but suddenly remembered his warning. Fear mixed with curiosity. Who was this woman? What did she want? The old woman slowly approached the bushes, her steps light as if she didn't feel her age. Alice held her breath, afraid to even exhale. The woman stopped in front of the bushes, her murky eyes seeming to penetrate through the hiding spot. "Don't be afraid, child," she said, her voice no longer sounding as menacing but rather exuding some gentleness. "I won't harm you." Alice relaxed slightly. "Who are you?" she whispered. I am Varvara, the guardian of this forest," the old woman replied. "And you are probably a lost soul seeking something greater." Alice blinked in surprise. How did this woman know about her quest for inspiration? Did she truly possess some secret knowledge? "Who was with you?" Varvara asked, her gaze suddenly becoming sharp as if she could see through the trees. "Arthur," Alice replied. "He helped me find my way out of the forest." "Arthur, you say?" Varvara murmured as if pondering something. "Interesting." She paused for a few seconds, then turned back to Alice. "This forest is full of secrets, child," she said. "And you didn't come here by chance. Fate has brought you together with Arthur, and this meeting could change your life forever." Those words echoed in Alice's mind like a reverberation. She did indeed feel something special towards Arthur, some inexplicable attraction. But what did Varvara mean by mentioning changes in her life? "Who is he?" Alice dared to ask. "And what is he doing here?" Varvara smiled mysteriously. "You'll have to find out for yourself, child," she replied. "But remember, not everything is as it seems. Trust your intuition, and it will show you the way." Before Alice could ask anything else, Varvara turned and headed deeper into the forest. Her figure quickly vanished among the trees as if she had simply dissolved into the air. Alice was left alone, stunned by this unexpected encounter. Varvara's words troubled her, but at the same time, they ignited her curiosity. What was happening? Who was Arthur? And what secrets did this forest hold? Suddenly she heard a familiar rustling of branches. Arthur emerged from behind the trees, his face troubled. "Hey, Alice! Where have you been?" he exclaimed, rushing towards her. "I've been looking everywhere for you." Alice silently looked at him, her head filled with thoughts. This meeting in the forest was just the beginning of her adventure, and she felt that her life would never be the same again. Arthur approached closer and stopped in front of Alice, his green eyes scanning her from head to toe with concern. He undoubtedly noticed the tension on her face and her mysterious silence. "Is something wrong?" he asked softly. "Did you see someone?" Alice hesitated. Should she tell him about her encounter with Varvara? On one hand, the old woman's words seemed a bit crazy to her, but on the other hand, they aroused her curiosity and excitement. "I..." she began but faltered. "Alice, please," Arthur insisted, his voice becoming slightly more anxious. "If you're afraid of something, tell me. I'm here to protect you." He reached out his hand to her, and Alice felt a pleasant shiver run down her spine. His concern was touching, and she decided to trust him. I met a woman here," she confessed. Arthur's eyes widened in surprise. "A woman? Where?" Alice told him about Varvara, about her words about fate and the secrets of the forest. She tried to convey everything as detailed as possible, not hiding her excitement. Arthur listened attentively without interrupting. When she finished, a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. "Varvara," he murmured as if pondering something. "Interesting." Alice watched his reaction carefully. Did he know this Varvara? Was her story surprising to him? "Do you know her?" she asked. Arthur raised his head and met her gaze. His green eyes now seemed even more mysterious. "There are various legends in this forest," he replied slowly. "One of them is about Varvara, the guardian of this place. They say she possesses secret knowledge and can see the future." Alice felt her heart beating faster. Could the old woman's words be true? "Do you believe in this?" she whispered. Arthur smiled mysteriously. "Some things in this forest defy logic," he said. "But one thing I know for sure, our meeting is not random." He took a step towards Alice, his gaze becoming warm and penetrating. "And now let's go," he added, taking her hand. "We need to find a way out of here before it gets completely dark." Alice allowed him to lead her. She was still pondering Varvara's and Arthur's words, feeling that her life would never be the same again. This forest, with its mysterious inhabitants and secrets, awakened in her a thirst for adventure and a desire to unravel its mysteries. And as she glanced at Arthur walking beside her, her heart fluttered again. Was he part of this mystery or her guide through it? She couldn't wait to find out. The moon rose higher, illuminating their path with a cold, silvery glow. The forest seemed to hold its breath, listening to their footsteps on the soft carpet of fallen leaves. Arthur led Alice along a path she hadn't noticed before. It wound through the trees, occasionally opening up into small clearings where the moonlight allowed them to see the wondrous flowers and shimmering insects. Alice couldn't take her eyes off her guide. His profile was clear in the moonlight, and his gait was confident and calm. Although his words about Varvara were uncertain, he didn't mock her story. It made her believe that he too felt the magic of this place. Suddenly Arthur stopped. They found themselves in front of a huge oak tree, its branching limbs reaching the night sky as if touching the stars. The tree emitted a faint glow, pulsating like a heart. "We're almost there," Arthur whispered, his voice quieter than before. Alice felt a tremor of excitement. This tree, it seemed, was the very tree of life Varvara spoke of. Did it truly possess magical power? "This—" she began, but Arthur pressed a finger to her lips, silencing her. He took a few steps forward and stopped in front of the tree. Raising his hand, he focused the moonlight on his palm. He whispered a few words that Alice couldn't make out. Suddenly, bright light flashed around the tree. Branches sparkled as if covered in millions of stars, and the ground beneath them trembled. Alice recoiled in awe at the spectacle. The light began to take shape, forming a transparent portal before them, shimmering as if another life awaited beyond it. Arthur turned to Alice, his eyes shining with the same light as the portal. "This is the path to my world," he said in a voice that suddenly seemed unearthly. "The world where beings like me, forest guardians, live." Alice was stunned. What had he just said? Arthur, a forest guardian? Was there another world beyond this portal? "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. Arthur smiled sadly. I am the one you chose to love, he replied. And now you must make a choice. Stay in your world or come with me to a world of magic and secrets. Alice looked at him, her mind refusing to accept this information. But the feeling she had towards Arthur since their meeting suddenly made sense. It wasn't just infatuation, it was a pull towards something greater, something that bound their souls regardless of the world. She glanced at the pulsating portal as if beckoning her. Then she looked back at Arthur, his eyes full of love and anticipation. And in that moment Alice realized that her life would never be ordinary again. She took a step forward, her heart beating wildly. "Take me with you," she whispered. Arthur reached out his hand, his palm glowing with the same ethereal light as the portal. Alice closed her eyes for a moment, steeling herself. Her life up to this moment had been measured and quiet like a dream. And now she was being offered to leap into the unknown, into a world of magic and secrets. Fear gripped her heart, but Arthur was beside her, and his presence gave her strength. She placed her hand in his, and a wave of warmth and security washed over her body. Together, they took a step forward. The light of the portal swirled around them, embracing them with its glow. Alice squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for impact or a fall. But it didn't happen. Instead, she felt a sense of weightlessness, as if she were floating in the air. When she finally opened her eyes, she looked around in amazement. They found themselves in a clearing illuminated by huge crystals emitting soft, multicolored light. Marvelous plants with shimmering petals grew around them, and transparent creatures with sparkling wings floated in the air. This place resembled a paradise garden from a fairy tale. Arthur didn't let go of her hand, his gaze warm and concerned. "A welcome to Eldorado," he said, surveying the magical landscape. Alice couldn't utter a word. Her brain struggled to absorb everything her eyes saw. This place was real, and she was now a part of it. Suddenly, a slender figure emerged from the trees, with long white hair and sparkling eyes. Her face was filled with wisdom and kindness. "Alice, welcome to our world," she said with a voice that sounded like a silver bell. "I am Isolde, the guardian of Eldorado." Alice was astonished. How did this woman know her name? But before she could ask, Isolde continued. "Arthur told us about you. You made a brave choice, leaving your world for him." Alice looked at Arthur, his eyes shining with love and pride. She knew she had made the right choice by following her heart. "Please stay with us," Isolde said, her voice gentle. "Here you can learn to use your own magic, discover new facets of your soul, and, of course, be with the one you love." Alice felt a wave of excitement. Magic? Her? Her life would never be dull. She looked at Arthur, his smile radiant as if reflecting the light of the crystals. "I'm staying," she replied firmly, looking into his eyes. Her adventure in Eldorado was just beginning, and she was ready to face all the challenges of this wondrous world. Together with Arthur, they would explore the secrets of magic, protect the forest, and, of course, love each other. Because it was love that brought her here, and she became its chosen one. And the years passed. Alice became an integral part of Eldorado. Her hair, once the color of ripe wheat, now shimmered with shades of moonlight, and her eyes, like a forest lake, radiated magical power. She mastered the art of controlling nature. Her voice could calm a storm or command lifeless branches to bloom. She became Isolde's right hand, teaching other chosen ones from the human world to harness their newly discovered abilities. But most importantly, her bond with Arthur grew even stronger. Their love blossomed like an enchanting flower shining in the night. Together, they defended the borders of Eldorado from the dark forces that sought to disrupt its harmony. One starry evening, sitting at the foot of the tree of life, Alice rested her head on Arthur's shoulder. They silently watched the shimmering insects dancing among the trees. "I've never regretted my choice," she whispered. Arthur gently kissed her temple. "Nor have I," he replied. "You are my chosen one, and you have made this world brighter." Suddenly the ground trembled, and the air filled with an ominous rumble. Isolde appeared before them, her face troubled. "The darkness is approaching again," she announced. "They are gathering to attack Eldorado." Alice felt her heart constrict. They had been preparing for this day for years, and it had finally arrived. Taking Arthur's hand, she rose to her feet. "We are ready," she said, her voice firm and resolute. Behind them, the tree of life shone brightly, its branches pulsating with power. Alice and Arthur, along with the other guardians, would meet the darkness with all their might. Their love, born in the forest, became a shield that would protect Eldorado. Alice's story, Chosen to Love, was only beginning its new chapter, filled with heroism, magic, and undying love. Thank you for being with us today. I hope that this story has brought you emotions. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss any of our new stories. Thank you for your support. You are the best.